The land of the free and home of the brave. Oh yeah, Canadians and Americans live there too. The most consistent theme in the descriptions penned about the New World was amazement at the Indians' personal liberty. In particular, their freedom from rulers and from social classes based on ownership of property. For the first time, the French and the British became aware of the possibility of living in social harmony and prosperity without the rule of a king. Jack Weatherford, Indian Givers, How the Indians of the Americas Changed the World, 1988. There is little question that what the white man found when he washed up on our shores was a free, independent, and brave people. But rather than learn our ways and study how a people could live without kings, queens, courts and prisons, or slavery, racism, and class warfare, it was the church, the very thing that created many of these institutions and conditions, that was relied upon to spread these very things to a free world. The doctrine of Christian discovery, which has plenty of foundation in the Bible, got its first shot as a standalone church doctrine with Portugal's invasion of West Africa in the mid-15th century. Pope Nicholas V's decree that Christian nations could claim the lands and possessions of pagan people and reduce them to perpetual servitude, slavery, would begin 4 centuries of the African slave trade. In 1493, it would be Pope Alexander VI who would lay the foundation for all the Christian nations of Europe to begin the rape of our own Turtle Island and lay the racist doctrine of Christian discovery as the foundation of white man's obsession with domination. In fact, those of us in the way of this plague would be called white man's burden. Certainly bits and pieces of our culture, philosophies, and traditions were borrowed when the need to shift from British rule and the old colonial authority had arisen. But what was woven into the American fabric was only done so in rhetoric and not in practice. Laws of nature, all created equal, governance by the consent of the governed, inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, these not only sounded good, they were good. These, along with the concept that individuals will be placed in the service of their people rather than as lords over them, were in fact the ways of our people, a way that allowed us to thrive and prosper for thousands of years. Like the miner's canary, the Indian marks the shift from fresh air to poison gas in our political atmosphere, and our treatment of the Indians, even more than our treatment of other minorities, reflects the rise and fall of our democratic faith. Felix S. Cohen, 1953. As the false accounts of American history crumbles with more access to truth and our own abilities to tell our own truths, many have begun to learn about the atrocities of the American Holocaust, a 500-year-long genocide that continues today. And while acknowledgement of the wrongs and perhaps some attempt to right them is a good place to start, what's missed in all of this is Felix Cohen's warning. To be clear, Cohen's analogy of us to the miner's canary was not about saving us or the canary. It was for the white man with his burden and all that Cohen made his warning. Was Cohen's analogy just a metaphor? Or is it reasonable to suggest that the atrocities committed against our people paved the way for the poison gases of Auschwitz and those now affecting climate change? Raping our children and our women are certainly crimes against humanity, but raping Mother Earth is a crime against creation. And this atrocity goes well beyond humanity. It affects all of creation. But let's be honest, most of creation couldn't really care less about toppled buildings, crumbled roads, or flooded homes. It is man, with his attempt to defy nature, who is in real trouble when nature strikes back. Cohen realized that the treatment and relationships with our people lay as a barometer for all of mankind. The fall of the white man's democratic faith is based in large part on the ignorant majority of them that could see their way to unspeakable crimes against the very people closest to creation, and never realize that what kills the canary kills the miner. In reality, it is we who are still free. It is the white man that fell to Christendom, that's Christian domination. We have lost an inconceivable number of our people over 5 centuries to extermination, removal, assimilation, termination. We are still losing loved ones to poverty, alcohol, drugs, and suicide. And we continue to lose many to assimilation, including those finding comfort in the colonial systems that continue to oppress our people. But we are not all lost. There are many among us who continue to say, the Ohundo Guriwadekwa. We acknowledge our relationship to creation and bow to no man. We know we are free because our minds are free. We are not the caged canaries of the white man. We are a free people. And in the meantime, many of the not-so-free, bound within the colonial system, poking at us with their sticks, wondering if we are their canaries, and questioning their own fate, more and more look to the free and the brave and desire to be among us. They'll pray that we are not those merciless Indian savages Thomas Jefferson wrote about, and hope that we still hold certain truths to be self-evident, even if they could not. This is why it matters.